I did not enjoy watching this movie.
So like we watched this Invincible trailer, right? And my first thought was, God, I miss Rex. I missed his entire
Really?
personality in this trailer. I miss Rex. I miss that character. Don't get me wrong, that character had some problems. Like, just from a
Cheating,
character,
misogyny,
right.
all the
But like, at the core of that character, his, I guess, quote unquote, I'm not saying redemption, but his death and his sacrifice. You look back at the entirety and like who he was trying to become. I missed that personality in this trailer, and I got everything I wanted, except I didn't get Rex. And I know it's
I mean, you're
also
not gonna get Rex, so I think you're gonna need to get over that. Rex
we're
is
not
dead. He's
Rex.
gone.
Rex is gone.
Definitively.
He ain't coming back. I just feel that way with like certain shows like Walking Dead and Game of Thrones. Like, but when I watch both those shows for the first time, then I see like random characters just start dying. I'm like, they're dead. I'm not getting them back. There's no magic that can bring them back. They're dead. That's it. It's over. And
unless we get a Rex prequel spinoff like we got with the one episode of Adam Eve, or I mean, Game of Thrones has done spinoffs before. You have, I mean, the second trailer we're talking about is literally the spinoff of a character that we got for like 5 minutes in a movie. So,
well, and Game of Thrones also is a little, it's a little different. Instead of getting one episode spinoffs, it's entire series spinoffs
yeah.
that may or may not be good. I'll touch on that topic maybe a little later. But look, in season 4, I almost didn't want to watch the trailer. And I actually remember being somewhere, opening up my phone, it was there, and I went, yeah, what could it hurt? I'll watch it. And I kind of wish I didn't watch it. I kind of wish I would go into this show blind, even though I do know some of the things that happen, because it's hard to not get spoiled a comic book that's already like been
finished for a while now.
Right.
Yeah.
It's hard not to.
I think my thing is, I am a big, like, I've stopped watching a lot of trailers. But at this point, I think I'm comfortable, like, for most properties, watching first trailers. Like, this was a first trailer. I think first trailers are really good still, even with all my problems with the trailer industry, at giving you enough to not give away everything, but get you excited. After that, I'm not watching any more Invincible trailers. We're not going to talk about any more Invincible trailers on the podcast. We're just going to watch the first one and talk about it. This might even be the only like main trailer we get. It comes out pretty soon. It's going to be 8 episodes, which I think is the shortest Invincible season.
Did they say it was April 12th or March?
No. So I have it pulled up. It drops March 18th is the
18th.
first episode.
Okay.
So yeah, it'll start March 18th with a 2-episode drop. We get episodes 1 and 2, 3 episodes actually. According to this, we're getting 3 episodes on the 18th, 1 episode on the 25th, and 1 episode on the 25th, and then 1 episode until April 22nd.
Here's why I'm also really excited for Invincible. And yes, I know we're approaching 1 year in the podcast. Invincible was literally the first project we talked about in this thing. And I think getting to talk about it again, first off, I'm excited to see it again, but getting to talk about Invincible again it's the first property that we are now reoccurring. Like, oh, we get to talk about this again. We've made it a full year. That's also where my excitement comes from with it too, is like, I get to watch this show weekly and talk about it with you. And that's kind of where the excitement does come from with this show now. Even though, obviously I said it back during our reviews, I think season 1's still the best season. I think 3 comes really close, especially with the final, like, I think
the final arc of that was really strong.
The final arc of season 3 specifically is really good. And I even told you, I think as far as finale goes, or like just final arcs go, it might be the best. The issue is that first season as a whole is just so well done that it's really hard to just look at the final part of season 3 and go, oh yeah, that's great. Especially when you do have episodes like, which episode is it? I think it's season 4, where it's not filler, it's in the comics, but it feels like filler.
Because we're
I'm sorry, season 3, episode 4.
Okay.
But it's like, it feels like filler, but it's not. I think that's the episode where Mark and Eve go on like the date, and then Mark gets like zapped back in time, or no, not back in time, to the future, and he has to
Oh, that's the
kill
one with, Immortal, right?
Immortal. It's like King
Yeah.
Immortal or something. He's like begging for death or something. I think that's what that was. I need to rewatch the show again prior to season
No,
4.
I know exactly what episode you're talking about, and I didn't hate that episode. I thought it was a
No,
really good episode.
I
I think
that's the
it's
thing is I
just,
didn't
like,
hate any of it. It just feels like filler, even though it's not.
Invincible doesn't have any bad seasons. It doesn't even really have any
No.
bad episodes. The main thing that people have held Invincible, like, against Invincible is, 1, the release cadence,
Correct.
especially with, what was it, season 2, where they, like, stopped releasing it for, like, 2 months, like, halfway through the season. Maybe no, that wasn't was it season 3?
That
Where
was
they, like,
season 2.
originally planned on releasing all of it, like,
Nope, season
weekly, and
2.
then they, like, stopped it, and then yeah. So, that was terrible, and then we talked about it on the podcast. The animation quality in season 4 or season 3 wasn't terrible. It just wasn't season 1. And I will say it is just a trailer. However, it's not like they're going to reanimate everything just for a trailer. The animation looks probably the best it has in this trailer.
It
Like,
does.
it looks really good.
It
And
does.
I think that last season was really good. It was a very important season and it had a lot of very important moments. Just based off the trailer, though, this feels like a more important season because we're
Yeah.
setting up our war and we're not concluding it. Like, we know we're not, this isn't the last season of Invincible. I think it's going to be like 6 seasons from what I've heard,
That's what I
somewhere around that.
remember. Yeah.
I don't think it's like definitively confirmed, but it's like 200 issue comic book, and at the rate that they're adapting it, granted, again, depends on how many episodes per season,
Yeah.
but we're looking at probably around 6 seasons.
That would seem
That
right.
that means that we're in the setup phase for what will probably take up the rest of the whole thing, which is the
Yeah.
war on Viltrum and the Viltrumites.
Yeah.
Right now, we're kind of collecting all of the main players. Like, this seems like, based on the trailer, again, we don't know much. It seems like it's going to just be a let's collect all of our main players setup season for
Yeah.
next season, which will start with all the insane action. Not saying that this one won't have action, but we're not gonna like incite the war on Viltra maybe in the last episode or two. But right now, we've already seen some characters that we've had references to in the past. I don't remember their names, but the guy with the laser beam who we saw in the
Yep.
tales that Omni-Man told as being one of the people that can kill Viltrumites. Same thing with the gunslinging, motorcycle riding space
Yep.
cowboy dude who has also been known to kill Viltrumites. They're all like
Battle Beast makes an appearance
Battle
again.
Beast, exactly. So you're having all these characters who we know can kill Viltrumites come together, and I
Yeah.
think that's kind of where we'll end the season. We're definitely gonna end on a cliffhanger, but I
Oh,
don't think
yeah.
we're really gonna get into any major war aspects
Yeah. Yeah.
until later on.
Well, and some shows just do that. And we're at the point in Invincible where we know our characters, we know our main character, we know our sub leads, and now they're just giving us the driving force to get the plot together. It's going to be like this is a horrible comparison, and I know not a lot of people who aren't of faith really watch this show, but I'm using it because it does kind of work here. But The Chosen is a very popular Christian show that's telling the story of Jesus Christ all the way through to the crucifixion. I think the resurrection. I don't know the full where they're going with it. This whole past season, season 5, was all about the Last Supper and the arrest of Jesus, building up to which inevitably builds up to eventually the crucifixion and the resurrection, if that's the story that they're telling.
Yeah.
Point being, there wasn't a lot of major things that happened, but it's the inciting, okay, this is kind of a lower, not because it's purposeful, but because they want to savor the moment of we're getting everything together to create that big grand stakes finale. Another good example, and this is not as good. I actually would argue this is really not as good, but I can't think of anything else. But it's like the Infinity War to the end game of the rest of the show. They're
Mhm.
collecting the main players. You know who's going to be here, and then it's going to leave you on a note of like, okay, what's going to happen? Where are we going with this? Um, but all in all, the biggest thing that I will say I also did take away was yes, it was the fact that hey, animation's better. It's seems like they took criticism from the seasons 2 and season 3, and they're like, okay, let's actually like work on this
It's
a little
something
more.
it deserves. And
I
I
mean, to be
will
yeah,
And it gives me faith though, because again, we're calling this an intermediary season. It might not be. We don't know. We neither of us have read the comic book, and I will say I have sometimes I like reading the source material first. One of the best examples of that is like I have read all of Chainsaw Man, and when the next season of Chainsaw Man comes out, I already know what's going to happen, but I'm still going to enjoy it nonetheless. But with something like Invincible, I really want to enjoy the animated version of it. And then I am going to go back, and I know you probably will as well, go back and read the comic book because I've heard that there are differences.
Yeah.
So it is going to be interesting to see that. But again, like we don't know what's going to happen, but we're calling this an intermediary season. If they're giving this season this much of an animation bump as opposed to previous seasons, if we get into the Viltrum War, like I'm not saying we're going to get like Chainsaw Man levels of animation, but I think that hopefully they'll take the time and budget that they need to give us some unbelievably like great, because I think the one thing that I still noticed about this trailer was the animation quality seemed better. Like their hair was moving. I didn't see any PNG sliding across.
Mhm.
And that's great. The one thing that the show got a lot of criticism for, on top of the whole like PNG sliding thing, that I do still have a knock against them, and it wasn't as big of a problem in season one, is the show feels flat. There's not a lot
Yeah.
of depth to the colors or the shadows, and it just feels that's where you get a problem with like the PNG sliding across. It looks even worse because there's no
Yeah.
depth to any of that at all.
Yeah.
So I still notice that in this trailer. Like the colors are like whenever you go into a color selector and you select one version of the color, instead of selecting like 5 versions of the color and mixing them together and adding some depth to your images, it really felt like they selected the one color, dropped it in,
Yeah.
and animated that. And I understand that animation's complicated. I'm not dogging on any animators. I can't do it. I've tried. I can't. I'm bad at it. But when you're talking about a property like Invincible that is unbelievably, it's like one of Amazon Prime's most successful shows ever, let alone animated, like ever.
Sure.
They have the money to hire the animators to do that, and it does just kind of feel like I don't know. I wish they would have given us more. It still looks good. That's
Yeah.
just my one knock, even with the trailer, is it still just feels flat.
Yeah, again, I don't think it's ever gonna be as good as it was in season 1 based on the time restraints that everybody's working with to make sure that this show is pumped out once a year now, especially
Yeah.
because when you look back to when this show released in 2021, which was just shortly after COVID happened, they took I think it was, like, 2 years, 3 years to make season 2. Season 2, I don't know what happened there. The quality still was not nearly as bad. Actually, I think season
No.
2 season 2 actually, for the most part, I think actually looked fine. It might have been just a slight downgrade because it was season 2 and there wasn't much to really progress anything. So it just
Mhm.
feels like there wasn't. Season 3 was where it fell off hard, but that was because it was a year after season 2 had released.
Yeah.
Maybe
Well,
not
and that's
even
our
because I know season 2 was into the 2 parts that, kinda dragged the show a bit too. And
yeah.
I think the thing that this show needs to try to avoid, and it's different because, like you said, it's animation. They need to avoid the Stranger Things concept of, hey, every 3 years, let's release a new season because your actors start to get older. Things start to change. I get it's animation, so you can do whatever, but like even hearing the kid's voice from season 3 to hearing his voice in the trailer and he sounds older, I'm like, oh, pretty
Yeah, the
sure it's
voice
not
drops.
that.
It is
Uh,
nice because here's the thing, you have to remember, he ages at an exponential rate.
sure. Yeah,
So, they can get away with that a lot easier where they can play into the fact that this kid who's voicing him is going to age over the course, and it's
they can.
probably gonna age like, not faster, but at least it makes sense. Now, if he gets to it, I don't know where he ends up in where Mark's brother ends up. If he ends up an adult at the end of this and he's still being voiced by a kid, well, that's a different story, but we'll get there when we get there. Again, I don't even know if that happens. But I think overall, wrapping up the conversation on the Invincible trailer, I'm excited. Obviously, we'll talk about it weekly on the podcast.
Yeah.
And yeah, another thing that we're going to talk about weekly, because here's the surprising thing. If you did not know this, and I didn't know this until I googled this, Maul, Shadow Lord, which is the next trailer we're talking about, is dropping weekly, which feels
Yeah.
like a rare occurrence for Disney nowadays.
Well, here's the thing with the Maul character. First off, I just want to make a public announcement. My internet upload speed is 796%. It's great. You're gonna hear me randomly throughout this podcast episode that saying that my internet is great. Because
Context behind that is when we were starting the recording for the podcast, Carson was completely frozen for me. He was completely frozen solid, and I was like, Carson, it's probably your internet. And Carson got up all uptight. He was a hard ass about it. He's like, it's not my internet. I don't know what you're talking about. I was like, Carson, run an internet speed test for me, brother. And so he ran the internet speed test, which, mind you, took way longer than it should have because he didn't know how to do that. And he runs it, and he's like, I got 84. Is that good? And I was like, Carson, mine is 850. And he's
bruh.
like, oh. So he reset his internet, and now his internet's good because that's how it works. So
You're gonna hear me cherish the moment that I see it go. The moment it hits above 900, I'm gonna be screaming like a kid on Christmas. Hooray.
hitting above 900 is rare. You have to have like quantum internet for that. Like
I hit 888, so there's a chance I could go over. I wasn't that far
I've
off.
never hit above 900 or maybe 950. But anyways,
Back
Maul.
to it, Maul. Look, the thing with Maul is that first off, Maul is a popular character. I think
Mhm.
Clone
Probably
Wars.
one of the most popular non-main Star Wars characters.
Well, and Clone Wars really cemented that. I'm not saying that the comics or the books didn't either. I'm sure they did. I didn't read any of those. I've never wanted to read any of those, or honestly, have I ever really cared to read them? Because I don't, unless they're definitely considered canon. I don't consider them canon.
Yeah.
I've seen the Clone Wars. I've seen Rebels. I've seen obviously Solo, which had the bit featuring Maul and whatnot, which will probably be what the show is kind of featuring, or how he got to where he was as the crime lord.
Yes.
But this is this is a popular character just because of the shows that they've created, and is realistically, I love Mandalorian season 1 and 2, and I love some of the things that Disney has created with Star Wars, other than Andor. Probably the greatest thing that's come out of Disney Star Wars, period.
You're
Because
talking
they've
about Clone
actually.
Wars?
Oh yeah, no, just Maul. Well, yes, Clone Wars.
Oh.
Clone Wars is great,
Well,
but
I
that
mean,
wasn't Disney. But
Maul is
Maul's involvement in this universe has become a much bigger thing, and Disney definitely helped that, because he came in Clone Wars, and I think that was just supposed to be the end of his story. Was, oh, Palpatine's got a use for him. We'll figure out what it is. But then they use him. Disney finished the season of Clone Wars. At least I think that was Disney finishing the Clone Wars show, and we got what they did with Maul. And now here, with the same Clone Wars animation style, we get to see a continuation of his story. Maul's probably, again, excluding Andor, in the Clone Wars universe, is one of the most interesting aspects of the show, and is just very cool, very interesting. This story is a story that's been needed to be told for a while, because it's got a lot of questions that it can answer. Again, how did Maul end up where he did in Solo? We don't know. He was just there, and we just assumed that we were going to get told that. Now we can actually get an answer for that.
well, Maul is such an interesting character because he's already died twice. And, and,
Bro has
and
died twice and come
because
back.
when Maul was in the prequel trilogy, it was very, very clear, and they've spoken about this after the fact. Maul was never supposed to come back. He died definitively. Like, he was cut in half, fell down, and was not supposed to come back. And I
Yeah.
don't know I'm not going to pretend to know the full story as to why they brought Maul back and why he was the character that was going to get the robotic legs and come back on the Clone Wars animated show. But he quickly became, and it probably is because he was a fan favorite in the movies, just because of the choreography and the performance, and he was the first character we ever saw with a dual blade. He had a
Yeah.
sick design. I mean, yeah. And so I think that him coming back in Clone Wars really cemented him as like one of the fan favorite characters. Like, if you talk about, like, favorite lightsabers, Maul's comes up pretty often. You talk about favorite character designs, Maul
Maul.
comes up pretty often. Talk about performances. I mean, he always has some of the coolest choreography because of his dual blade and his acrobatics and things of that nature that make him a little bit more unique. Then he died again. He died in Rebels against Kenobi, and
Right.
that is his definitive death. Like that he's not coming back from that. This is
No,
not
he's
taking
dead.
place after that definitive death. Like Carson said, this is taking place around slash a little bit before where we find him in Solo. So it takes place, I believe, after Clone Wars, but before Rebels, around
Yeah.
when Solo is taking place.
I think it's like 10 years prior. I wanna assume that's the Solo movie is like 10 years before Han Solo ends up in Star Wars. You might be able to look that up and find out that information. I'm assuming it's like 10 years. I don't think it's like a
Yeah, so it says shortly after the Clone Wars. I don't know what that shortly definition is.
how much was
Um,
there in between? Is it 40 years in between the Clone Wars and, the original trilogy? Is that what they say it is? It's 40 or is it 20 years?
are you talking about Clone Wars, the TV show, or the prequel movies?
Let's go from Revenge of the Sith to A New Hope. What's the actual timeline? Is it 20 years or is it like 40? It could be 30 too. I'm guesstimating.
19 years, approximately.
Oh my god. Okay, so yeah, so it's shortly after the Clone Wars because then Rebels has to take place, and then Solo has to take place sometime before Rebels, technically. I don't know. The whole timeline's a little confusing. You kind of have to look into it to fully understand it. I don't fully understand it myself. That being said, specifically staying on the track of Maul's show, it looks really good. I'm not going to look at anything else beyond posters or anything. I don't want to know anything more about the show than the trailer. The only reason I watched in the first place was A, to talk about it here. Secondly, because even when they announced the show, I didn't know what the show was going to be about. I actually
Yeah.
remember when we sat here talking about it, we were both saying, like, we like Maul, we hope it's good, but at the end of the day, we don't know because we haven't seen anything, nor do we know what they could do with this show. Now that we've seen what they're doing, I'm on board with this. I think it's going to be a fun show. At the very least, it's going to be a fun show.
Yeah, it
Um,
drops April 6th. It has 10 episodes and will drop weekly until May the 4th, which kind of tells me you know how they typically do the Tales of series? I
yeah,
don't think that we're going to get a Tales of series
thank
this year
God.
because Maul, but
Thank
also
God.
it's very deliberate because this is also celebrating 20 years of Lucas Animation is
Yeah,
this show. So that's their way of celebrating the May the
yeah,
4th instead of giving us a Tales of is giving us 10 full episodes dedicated to Maul. And one thing I said, you touched on the animation a little bit. I think this is the best animation they've ever had. It feels
oh, sure.
yes, it is still in the same style of Clone Wars obviously and Rebels and all the tales of it's the Star Wars animation style. Specifically with Maul's design, though, it feels like there's so much detail and depth
Yeah.
that they gave his design that even his later appearances when he died in Rebels didn't have. So I don't think there's going to be like an explanation as to why that
Well,
is,
I mean, the,
but
the practical real world sense is technology has advanced. Clone Wars was
correct. They get more money.
2020, was Clone Wars 2020 or 21? When did it actually end?
Well,
Uh,
his
it
last
did.
appearance was in Rebels, I
Okay,
believe.
but I'm asking for when Clone Wars ended because Rebels ended before Clone Wars ended, right?
Well, are you talking about when Clone Wars originally ended or when Clone
When Clone
Wars
Wars actually ended, when they said, "Hey, we're making this final season," and the final season released, that ending is what I'm referring to.
2020, May the 4th, 2020.
So it has been 6 years since we technically last saw Maul in animation form, with the exception of, I think, I can't remember if he was in Tales of whatever. Not important. What is important is it's been 6 years for them to improve on technology. And I even remember sitting 6 years ago, that even feels weird to say, 6 years ago, watching the final season of Clone Wars, going,
Man, it's been
wow,
6 years. Oh,
yeah,
wow. That just
yeah,
set in.
yeah. That set in for me a minute ago. But when you look at that animation, we even sat there and I remember looking at it going, oh my gosh, this is so crisp. This is so much better than
the original. I mean, we're talking about a show that came out in the early 2000s. So,
Right,
of
but
course, yeah.
of course of it, and now we're saying that again here because it's been 6 years worth of progress to get to where we are now with a really good animated show that can have more detail, that can have more layers. We see even if you look at Bad Batch throughout its entire run,
Yeah,
Bad
Bad
Batch
Batch was great.
Bad Batch also improves, like, animation quality-wise, even from where they were in the final season of Clone Wars. Like, it's just the natural order of things. It improves over time.
I have
Um,
a question for you then, building off of that, a little unrelated to Maul, but related to the conversation we're having. So,
yeah,
other than Visions, which is the anime made by different anime studios, every episode looks different because they're all
right.
animated by different anime studios. Do you think we're ever going to get a canon animated Star Wars show made in a different style than the Clone Wars style?
No, because I think it's familiar, and I think that they know. No, I think my answer is no. I mean, Rebels is the closest thing, and I don't think Rebels is Clone Wars style at all. Like, even if you look at the designs, like, they don't look the same to the Clone Wars style. Um, it may look close, but it's not. It doesn't
It's
feel.
definitely a little bit different. I still feel like it's pretty close,
It's
but
close, but I don't feel like it's. I
I
don't
mean,
feel
it's
like it's
copy
close.
paste. But here's the thing: we're also talking about again a show that years difference in when
Years difference, yes,
Clone Wars originally finished, not the new season that we just talked about, and Rebels coming out. Rebels
yeah,
ended in 2018.
yeah.
So, um,
Which is almost 10 years ago.
yeah.
God
You know what
kill me.
happened though? This was actually gonna be the cold open, before the trailers dropped for Invincible and Maul. I would assume you heard that, the Darth Lord herself, Kathleen Kennedy, is no longer
Kathleen
the
Kennedy.
head of Star Wars, and
Let it die, let it die.
Dave Filoni has officially taken over. I don't he's not doing it alone, and I wish I remember the other person that he's doing it with, but,
Don't care. Dave Filoni, save
Kathleen
us.
Kennedy's out. I
Save
know
us,
we're okay.
Dave Filoni. Thank you.
I know we're happy about Kathleen Kennedy being out because she's bad. Bad for Star Wars. Always has been, always will be. Good riddance, the Wicked Witch of the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, really.
Are we that happy that it's Dave Filoni taking over?
I'm happy it's Dave Filoni. I wish you actually was solely Dave Filoni because I don't know who his other half is. You can look it
Let
up,
me
but
while you talk, let me look that up.
unless it's somebody who works very closely with Dave Filoni in the past, I don't know if I trust it. Dave Filoni, I trust wholeheartedly. Mostly everything creatively that he's touched has been good. At its worst, it's been mid, which is better than being god awful like the Skywalker trilogy, which I don't even like fully. Again, I've been open about this. I don't fully hate the sequels. I do have some attachment to it, and there are good things to come out of it. Like I said, Force Awakens, not a bad movie, good time. Last Jedi made some weird choices, but overall, you can have a okay time with that movie. Rise of Skywalker, really god awful, but you can enjoy the visual effects. Like each movie does have its thing. But as a whole, that was Kathleen Kennedy's project that she butchered. Rogue One, I don't know if she touched Rogue One.
I don't know how much he touched Rogue One. I know it was written by Gary Whitta and God, who's the other one who wrote it? Crap, it's at the tip of my tongue.
Doesn't matter, not important.
Yeah,
But
but it was written by people not associated with Star Wars.
I think she was mostly hands off of the project, and then evidently she was probably very hands off with Andor as well for the same reason.
Mhm.
Um, which is why that show turned out so great. Kathleen Kennedy also did, I will say, 2005, George Lucas had the rights to Star Wars and he made his prequel trilogy. And then he made Clone Wars, and that was it. That's pretty much all he touched. Kathleen Kennedy had the unfortunate thing of, oh, we're going to expand and we're going to make all these different shows that people have to keep up on. And I promise you, there are some shows I probably haven't even watched yet, or there are some things that I haven't even watched yet because I never cared to. That's mostly the issue with
Well,
what
you
Kathleen
never
Kennedy did.
saw Skeleton Crew.
I never watched Skeleton Crew. I didn't hear bad things about Skeleton Crew, but it really didn't interest me. That's also, I think, because of all the not crap, because not all that's crap, but the constant nonstop Star Wars things that were constantly thrown at me. And it's
Because
honestly
people are like,
why.
"Oh, we haven't gotten a lot of Star Wars because there hasn't been a movie since, the last of the sequel trilogy came out," which is
Yeah,
like, we're going on, like God, we're going on not a decade, but it's been a while.
yeah.
Because was that pre-pandemic?
What was? I'm sorry. What was Clone
The
Wars
tr
or
the prequel trilogy ended pre-pandemic, right?
prequel
Like
trilogy, or
2018?
the? Or are you talking about this? Are you talking about the sequel trilogy?
Sorry, the sequel trilogy ended.
Sequel trilogy ended May of 2019.
So then, yeah, we're talking like
No,
not
I'm
a
sorry,
decade.
December of 2019. I'm sorry, same thing, but
So
yes,
we're talking
pre-pandemic.
a decade, but we're talking a long time for no movie. And your first movie to come out in 9 years is a Grogu movie.
Yeah, on the back of a TV show that season 1 was really good, season 2 was really
That's
good,
right,
season
right?
3
Like
being mid.
Solo came out while the prequel trilogy was
Solo
releasing.
Solo came out 2018, then Rise of Skywalker came out in 2019, and that was really the last movie that was Star Wars related. That's the other thing is like when Disney Plus came in, we had Mandalorian, then we had Bad Batch. Again, it was just the over flooding of content and the
Yeah,
constant
that's
nonstop that she created on the platform. I don't know if it was her or if it was Disney. It could very well have been both for all I know. That's why I'm also not fully putting the blame on Kathleen Kennedy, but she takes the brunt of it because she
she's
was the
the
face of it.
CEO. Yeah, she was the face. But
Um,
what I was getting at with that, I kinda lost my way because I was trying to think of the dates. Thank you for helping me out there.
yeah,
Was people complain about, like, "Oh, it's been, like, so we have, like, so much or not enough Star Wars," because, like, you're right. We haven't had a movie in, what, 8 years?
yeah,
And the first movie coming back is the final to a TV show? That's
yeah,
a weird choice.
yeah,
However, we also had, what, 8 TV shows in between that nearly? You had
yeah.
multiple seasons of The Mandalorian, you had Ahsoka, you had Bad Batch, you had the final season of Clone Wars, you had, God, what was that one that everyone hated that I've already purged from my brain?
Acolyte.
Acolyte, you had Acolyte. So, like, and we're not even talking about all the kids shows that they've made. Like, there's
Yeah.
a lot of non-canon kids Star Wars shows that I'm never gonna watch unless I have kids one day that they've also been pumping out. So, I do think that it is, like, a valid take to be like, "We've been pumped too much Star Wars," but at the same time, you can look at Marvel, and there was a point in time where we're getting 3 movies a year, and they were all 3 banger movies. So I
That's the difference is they were all 3 banger movies. So, yeah, we were
but what I'm
overloaded
saying
with stuff, but it
is
was different.
it's not a quantity thing. It's more of a, like, they didn't have the foresight into what they were doing like Marvel did. Like, when Marvel was pumping out 3 movies and even leading up to Endgame, certain TV shows that were all bangers, and then you kinda have the we can talk about whatever after Endgame, they still have bangers, but I don't know. Star Wars is one that I want as much content as I can get out of it. I just hope
S
it's good. And to wrap
Star
this all
Wars was well, here's what I will say, and I'll let you wrap it up, this part of the
Mhm.
conversation. Star Wars tried to recreate a lot of franchises did, but Star Wars was the first one to really try to recreate what the MCU did, which was, hey, we can make a ton of money doing this, but also at the same time, we can make good quality superhero movies telling these stories and telling one interconnected story. It was great up until Endgame. Yeah, they had some misfires, like Thor: The Dark World wasn't received very well, and at the time, especially the Endgame time, was the worst MCU movie, not because it was truly awful, but because it was just the weakest one of the bunch. Shows, were hit or miss. You had Iron Fist, which was really bad. Agents of Shield as a show was hit or miss, I think, except like the first like few seasons, and then
they had some really banger seasons, and I don't think Agents of Shield ever got like bad.
It got
just
mid.
had the
It got really mid.
exactly. It had the too many seasons problem. It was a
It
show that had
didn't
so
know when to
many
end.
points in
Yeah.
time in which it should have ended, but it never had the like Flash problem where like you look at the episode ratings of the final 2-3 seasons of Flash and they're all like abhorrent. Like I haven't looked at the ratings of Agents of Shield, but like Agents of Shield never got that bad. It just never got as good as those original seasons.
But again, all that to say is like Star Wars tried to copy it and then failed miserably. And even Marvel themselves eventually started failing. But that honestly, it all goes back to Disney Plus and them saying, hey, we want TV shows for our streaming site. I've always said, and I've wanted to go back, if Marvel never put TV shows on Disney Plus, yes, there would have been stories we never got. We never would have gotten Loki. We would have probably gotten in movie form. We would have gotten some of these things in like I said, a movie form. Maybe they still would have ended up being mid. But I really want to know if we never got some of these TV shows and they were just films, would it have honestly been for the betterment of Marvel? The same thing with Star Wars. What if we got a Mandalorian movie instead of a Mandalorian TV show? Again, all the things that TV shows have that movies don't are like, the drawn out interconnected character stories. But then it also negates the filler episodes that you have within those TV shows that even the first few seasons of some of these shows do indeed have.
See, I think that you kind of hit what I was going to hit at, where I don't think it has anything to do with the fact that they're a TV show and not a movie. I love TV shows. I watched 1,400 episodes of TV last year or something like that. I have an app that I track everything through, and I looked at the number and I was like, oops. But I watch a lot of TV, most of it anime, and I love the TV format. The problem that shows run into is they feel the need to add unnecessary stuff in there. They need to be comfortable telling when you have an 8-episode season and you have filler episodes into it, why'd you make it 8 episodes? Why not make it 6 episodes? Like, why do you need to stretch it out to 8 like I love TV shows because they give you more time to live with things and they can do better things with like mystery and what's going on without having to like rush some of it in a movie form.
Sure.
The problem companies run into is everything is 8 episodes or 12 episodes or 24 episodes.
Sure.
Anime, on the other hand, they get a little bit more like, okay, we have 13 episodes, we have 6 episodes. Like, there's still a little bit of a formula to it, but especially modern anime is a little bit more comfortable working within what they need as opposed to working to a number goal that it feels like Marvel, Star Wars, and all of that run into. And that's where you get those filler episodes. And I think that's more on them and not on the TV format as a whole. It's kind of like arbitrary restrictions that it feels like they're placing upon themselves, where you could have told a Boba Fett series really, really well. You just don't need some of those filler episodes in there because it adds nothing, and there was no reason to put them in there. Cut them out, and you're golden, and you have a great show on your hands. So wrapping up. Good riddance, Kathleen Kennedy. Oh, also, but I know I said we're wrapping it up. I did Google it. I'm gonna butcher this name. It's Lin-Wen Brennan is the co-president. However, Dave Filoni is president, chief creative officer. So he oversees all of it, but he's specifically focusing on the creative aspects. Lin-Wen is handling the business side of things. Not anything less to do with like what projects are we making and more to be like business relations, partnership deals, things like that. So it is not solely Dave Filoni. They are co-presidents, but Dave Filoni is the sole creative head. And then you have another person who is overseeing the more boring business side of things so that Dave Filoni doesn't have to worry about that.
Which I prefer, and that's what I was hoping we would get. Longest cold open ever, but let's talk about another trailer. this is a surprising one that I'm bringing up, but let's talk about Super Mario Galaxy. The trailer looked like a lot of fun.
God, you're so I don't understand what you have against the Mario movie.
I've already said what I've had.
I know.
There is no hate for this movie. I've never once said that I've hated this movie.
No, I know.
I have said that this movie is very much riding on the popularity fact that it's Mario. If this movie, let's say that this movie was a completely random set of characters, non-Mario related, this movie would have bombed more than it already did with critics. And that's the only reason that it worked so well was because it had the Jack Blackisms mixed with really great sound effects, visual animations, and the fact that Mario itself is so iconic and it had all the right beats and it had the coins and I don't know. I'm just spinning, but you know what I'm talking about when I say that. Galaxy as a trailer looks like it's the same thing and it hits on the right beats. That being said, Yoshi's the most adorable thing I think I've ever seen in the trailer. And I want a plushie of him right now because
You can buy them. Yoshi plushies have been a thing for decades at this point. So
yeah, but the trailer did exactly what it needed to do for me, which is like, hey, I'm not a big fan of Mario, and I wasn't a big fan of the first movie, but I'm gonna go watch this movie and I'm gonna enjoy my time watching it because it looks like it's at least a lot of fun. And that's what am gonna get out of this movie. I know that's what I'm getting out of this movie. Maybe I get a little more, but that's what the trailer sold me on, and that's all I needed.
I will admit, and I'm gonna keep this like a one thing because you talked about longest cold open. Yeah, it's a 40-minute cold open, and we still haven't even gotten to the main topic of conversation.
Yeah, really.
So I'll wrap this up quickly. I am more nervous for the Super Mario Galaxy movie after watching the trailer than I was before. And I love the Mario movie. I thought it was great. I thought it was a lot of fun. Animation was strong. I did think it had a lot of heart and story to it. I thought it did exactly what it needed to do. Granted, the trailer does do a good job of not giving too much away in terms of where we're going, but what it does give you is a lot of different set pieces in a lot of different areas and a lot of different threads that I don't like. In our previous trailer, the first trailer that we got, it made it seem like Bowser like, and it is gonna be the case, but Bowser Jr. is the main bad guy, and Rosalina is going to be the new character that we bring on. Well, Rosalina wasn't even in this trailer all that much.
Right.
It was Yoshi, and it seems like Yoshi was now going to be that new character. Okay, how are you going to balance these two, what seem like major characters to the story, while also having your main villain being Bowser Jr., but then you also I know this is a Mario thing, and the whole thing with Mario games is you're moving to different set pieces, and the first movie did that. But like, they moved around a lot in
Yeah.
this trailer, and
Yeah.
I'm afraid that this is technically covering two games, like not story wise. There's no story to cover, but it's supposed to be a rough adaptation of the concept of Mario World and Mario Galaxy. Because originally, from what I heard, is they were supposed to make a Mario World movie, and now they're doing a Mario World and Mario Galaxy movie. So it's going to be like two movies swished together, and that doesn't get like I didn't have any problem with that if they did it well. And the first trailer seemed to set it up really well, but this second trailer just didn't do that for me. It felt like they had two I felt the pains of it being two different movies. And obviously, we're speculating off of a trailer, but I am admittedly more worried than I wanted to be after watching this second trailer. Still looks great, still sounds great. I'm expecting to still have a fun time. I don't know. Something about it was not as good as I wanted it to be.
You're giving speculations and I'm giving spoilers. It's going to be a good time. That's
Yeah.
it. That's Mario. And this movie's going to get the same score. It's going to be the same type of movie that it was in the first one. Maybe a little worse, but that's it.
Yeah.
Sorry to
Just
everybody
hoping
who
it's
loves
good.
Mario. That's it for me. I'm just hoping it. No, not that's good. I don't. I again. I don't now that's good that it's at least a fun time, that I'm not going to be bored in the movies. If I'm bored in the movies, that's the worst possible outcome.
Yeah. We'll talk about it on the podcast when it comes out.
That being said, oh my gosh, with a 908 Mbps download speed and an 800 update speed, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Nerdy Nimrods podcast. The only podcast in the world where your two favorite Nimrods talk all things nerdy. I'm your host for this episode, Carson, aka Juggernaut, here with my forever co-host,
Brandon, aka Parrotfish.
and today we are talking about our first foreign film, No Other Choice. That felt good to say that out loud.
You're ridiculous.
No Other Choice came out last year. I had a big weekend this weekend. Big plans, big wedding. Couldn't really see anything new. And also,
congratulations on not getting married.
Yeah, not my marriage, friend's marriage. And I also didn't want to watch Return to Silent Hill, so it kind of worked.
Yeah, there were two movie choices that were in theaters this weekend. Return to Silent Hill and Mercy. And so this is a little behind the scenes into the podcast. We want to talk about the new things. We enjoy watching new movies. We enjoy going to the movies. But we're not on this show to force ourselves to watch things that we're not going to enjoy. There will be movies that we will be excited for that might be disappointing. Like, I was excited to see the Karate Kid movie last year. Unfortunately, it wasn't terrible by any means. It just wasn't great. And that's about where we're probably going to end. Like, we're not famous or anything. There's not a lot of watchers of this. We have viewers, but not a ton. But for those of you who might ever wonder, like, why don't they cover like the bad movies? We're not on this podcast to sit and subject ourselves to bad movies. Like, neither of us were that interested in seeing them before the reviews came out. And then with Carson's busy weekend and the bad reviews, it was kind of just like what else can we do? Like, we want to be positive. We want to talk about good things on the podcast. And so if a movie comes out that we're already not interested in and it gets bad reviews, we might end up skipping it, or maybe we will still talk about it, but we're not going to ever force ourselves to watch a movie that we don't want to watch. So that's kind of why we're talking about a 2025 movie. One, because it is a good movie. It got a lot of Oscar noms, and it's exciting to talk about. We didn't talk about it last year, but also because, like, I don't want to sit here and be like, we have to talk about every single new release, whether it's good or not. Like, that's not the point of this. We're not here to subject ourselves to torture.
I was like, that's what FNAF and Tron Ares is for me. We get big budget movies like that, and it's like, that was really bad, guys.
Tron was one that I was excited for. That was one we both went in excited for because of Tron. That's similar to a Karate Kid, where go in excited and get disappointed. FNAF was just because our friend really wanted to talk about FNAF with us. And there was also nothing else coming out, so we talked about FNAF. So there will be exceptions to that rule. But again, we're rarely going to sit here and force ourselves to watch a bad movie just because, it's the only thing that came out. Like, we'll find a way. But yeah, just a little background on that.
I'm going to defer, let you start. Obviously, I don't know how long this is going to take us, but go ahead and give me your first thoughts for No Other Choice.
No Other Choice is a difficult movie for me because I did not enjoy watching this movie. I actually sat and watched this movie, and you want to talk about, like, I've talked about this before on the podcast, but like movies that feel longer than they should. Like, this movie was, and I think I've said this before on the podcast, but I mean this when I say this, the longest 2 hours of my life. I was convinced that I read the time wrong and this movie was 4 hours long. And then I got out of the movie and I was like, no, that was 2 hours. And at the time of watching it, I felt like that was a problem. Again, I'm sitting watching the movie and it wasn't bad. Like, the acting was really strong and it had a very clear message to it. I just sat there in the movie and was like, this is so slow. Not a lot's happening. And even when things are happening, it takes so long for those things to happen. And I just didn't appreciate the movie all that much. The reason why I say that is I watched this movie 3 days ago at this point, and over the course of those 3 days, I've done a lot of thinking about this movie. This has been on my mind a lot, and I've come to realize that I was way too hard on this movie when I watched it. I think that a lot of the things that I had criticisms about when I was watching the movie are exactly what I'm supposed to be feeling. It's supposed to feel slow. It's supposed to feel drawn out. You're supposed to feel stressed out. And I love being stressed out of movies. And by golly, was I stressed out at certain points in this movie.
Yes.
But it isn't like a Marty Supreme, where Marty Supreme, you're stressed out because so much is happening at once. You're stressed out in no other choice because nothing's happening at points in time. And that's actually a better representation of real life than something like a Marty Supreme is, where you're getting stressed out because things are happening, but that doesn't always happen in real life. Like you're boom, 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 boom. No other choice feels stressful and it feels slow because that's life. Like that's exactly what daily life is. It's slow and methodical and tedious and stressful.
Right.
And I appreciated that so much more after thinking about the movie, that like I regret not enjoying the movie as much when I watched it, because it really nails everything it's going for so well. The
Right.
core theming of this movie, like I appreciated the end of this movie, but I loved the ending of this movie after thinking about it, because the whole start of this movie is a guy getting fired from his job and everyone's starting to get replaced by technology, and he goes on this whole downward spiral. I also should note I knew nothing about this movie going in. Like jack shit. Absolutely nothing. So I didn't even know the core themes. I didn't know the message. I do nothing. This is the blindest I've ever watched a movie, probably. And so maybe that tailored my experience a little bit. But going in knowing nothing, I couldn't pick up on exactly what the movie was going for. I was like, okay, this guy, he's getting replaced by technology. He gets fired. We see him go through all the job interviews. We see his relationships with his family. And then the core plot starts picking up. And I was like, okay, it's a murder mystery. Not a murder mystery, but like it's a thriller murder movie. And then the ending comes, and I was like, oh, so that's what this has all been about the whole time. And then I think about it later on, and I was like, oh, wow, that was actually like so genius. Like, that was actually like a guy gets replaced by technology, goes on this downward spiral, refuses to change, tries to, like, won't leave the paper industry. That's his whole calling. And then at the end of it, he's the only guy standing alone in the dark in a facility with technology. And I didn't appreciate that as much when I was watching it, but damn, did I nearly tear up thinking about how beautiful that is and how tragic of an like, this isn't a happy ending at
Yeah.
all. But
Yeah.
thinking about that and really sitting with this movie, I was like, damn, this was a good ass movie. But it is funny because I still like, do I regret not enjoying it as much when I watched it? Not necessarily. But again, I feel like that's kind of the point. This isn't like a movie that you're going to enjoy watching necessarily. Like, there's movies that you watch to enjoy, and there's movies that you watch to think. This is a movie you watch to think, but like even more than a Begonia, in my opinion, because Begonia, you're thinking about it as it's happening, or at least this is how I consumed it. I'm thinking about everything as it's happening, and I'm putting the pieces together. This is a movie that, like, I was putting some pieces together while watching it, but it wasn't until after the fact, and I haven't even watched any reviews for this. This isn't like, oh, well, you should watch reviews and watch explainer videos. No, I haven't really watched anyone talk about this movie. It was just me, myself, sitting with this themes and sitting on the metro ride back. And like I have a group chat with my friends afterwards. None of them care at all. Like they don't watch movies or anything, but I always throw my movie reviews after I watch a movie in that chat just for fun, because I helps me put my thoughts together. I rewrote my review of this movie in that chat 15 times. And even after sending it, I made edits afterwards, because again, like my thoughts have evolved so much after seeing it. And I'm excited to talk about this because I don't know what your experience is whatsoever, but like this is I don't want to say this is the most interesting experience I've ever had with a movie, but it was like I thought about it so much afterwards in the sense of like I'm sitting in this movie, not enjoying it all that much, and then I'm sitting at home alone, not watching the movie, really enjoying the fact that I watched the movie. So that's kind of my long-winded, all over the place, like cursory review of No Other Choice. And I am excited to talk about like the deeper themes of this movie and all of that, but I'll pass it off to you.
Yeah, so I saw this film about just slightly under 2 weeks ago, and I was pitched this idea to do a double feature with a friend of mine. We were watching Reservoir Dogs, rewatching it because I was really excited to see that, and then we were watching No Other Choice. I'd seen no trailer. I had seen no description. I did not know. For all I know, I could have been walking into a romance movie. Have no idea what this film is. The only attachment I had was Bong Joon-ho, who did Parasite and Snowpiercer, and so I knew this was going to be at least good. At the end of this film, I was walking out of the theater at 1 a.m. going, huh, that was 2 hours of my life. That was definitely 2 hours of my life. And I drove home and then I slept on it. And I'm not even joking. Got up the next morning and I was sitting there thinking about it and I just went, that might have been the most enriching experience I've ever been on for a film, just in the theaters. Like that was beautiful, and the ending and the themes and the way that the camera is shot. And my friend, now I'm not even joking, 5 minutes later texts me, yeah, that was a pretty good movie. I've thought about it, I've made my decision. And I'm just like, yeah, this film does a lot better on rewatch. And I feel like it's also going to, like, if you were to constantly rewatch this film, it would easily be more clear to you. This is a slow burn from start to finish, and you feel that because it feels like it drags. That being said, when you objectively look at it, no, it didn't. It did everything was intentional. It made sense. You just didn't see it in the moment because it feels like a long, slow burn, but it isn't actually. My God, first off, I'm not even going to pronounce the actor's name, but the lead actor from Squid Games does an incredible job here. This is an inspiring performance. Obviously, we talked about this last week when we were talking about like all the Golden Globe noms and the Oscar stuff. I don't know if we were talking about which one we were talking about. We were talking about some of it.
I think it was the Golden Globes, just because that was what came out at the time.
Right, and we hadn't seen it yet. We hadn't seen any of it, but we knew that he was nominated for it. He does incredible here. This movie has great core messages. It's also funny. There's a lot of laugh out loud moments, especially watching this man who doesn't, obviously isn't a killer, try to kill these people. It's quite hilarious. But the family aspect is also really important. And I think what Bong Joon-ho does so well in this film, and it's what he did so well in Parasite and Snowpiercer, and I still think Parasite's better than this. I really, really love Parasite. But I think what he does in his film so well is the suspense. It's adding the tension into each and every scene, even in scenes that don't feel like there should be any. But like when he's just sitting, when Manso is just sitting there talking to the detectives, and he's going through the story and he's trying to make sure that everybody has their story straight. Like that whole scene is tense because his wife's sitting behind him, listening to everything he's saying, and the detectives, and they're all like he's trying to play both sides, but he's also trying to keep his innocence and this and that, and all at the same time working towards a goal that ends very sadly because, like you said, he's alone. He's working with machines, the thing that he was actively trying to go against. Hey, I want to save all my friends. I want to make sure we're all working together. We all go, or we don't go. And he ends up being alone at the very end, surrounded by this technology and this AI that he despised from the beginning. It is incredible, and it's a great message just for now. Obviously, we're talking about AI in a world surrounded by AI. But I general thoughts were didn't know what to make of it at first. Really love it on rewatch. My first question I kind of want to ask.
Okay, kick it off.
Because this is also, I'm admitting this is the first foreign film I've ever seen in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen a foreign film in theaters. I don't know if you have, technically.
It depends on what you count as foreign film, because
live
like obviously,
action.
Yes, because I was like, I've seen Nayshaw 2, I've seen anime
Right.
movies, a live action foreign film. Yeah, I believe this is my first time.
This is my first live action foreign film.
I've never even seen Parasite, period. I know that's a controversial thing, given that like I think it's like the #1 movie on IMDb's top 100. It's like everyone's favorite movie ever. I will say, after watching this movie, I really want to see Parasite now, and might even do that when I get the chance.
I'm
But
not asking you to place it. I'm not asking you to do that at all. That being said, did this break your top 10 now that you
no,
thought about it? Okay.
no. This movie, I did think about it. I did ask myself after I thought about it. Like, obviously, walking out of the theater and being mixed on it, I was like, of course, this wouldn't have made my top 10. After appreciating the movie more and like re-looking at my top 10 of the year, it definitely would have been an honorable mention. I don't think it would have cracked my top 10, but I think this is another one of those things with like the Sinners situation, with like Sinners being my number 7. Sinners, I already mentioned, would have been higher on my list, most likely, if I would have rewatched it in theaters. I
Yes.
didn't. This is another one of those movies that if I rewatched it, could easily have breached my top 10, depending on my experience, obviously, rewatching it. But
Sure.
going into this movie, I'm gonna admit to you, I lied a little bit. So I knew nothing about this movie other than one thing. I did know one thing, and that was the image of him holding something above his head.
Bruh.
However, I thought that was an urn, and I thought his wife was going to die within the first few minutes, and I thought that was what this movie was going to be. And
Nope.
I quickly learned that that is not the movie that they went for. But I will admit that I did technically see the image of him holding what we now know as a plant pot above his head, and we understand the meaning of that plant pot. But
Right.
I saw that image, thought it was an urn. Like I said, I didn't think about this movie at all, but I sat down in the theaters and I was like, what do I know about this movie? Like, I know nothing about this movie. Okay, I saw the poster. He was holding something above his head. I think it was an urn. His wife's probably gonna die. And then that opening scene happens, and we introduce like the wife and all that. And I was like, oh, the wife's definitely gonna die. And then I can't remember at what point in the movie I realized the wife wasn't gonna die. But there was one point in the movie, and I was like, I was so wrong about.
It's I I described it to my friend like this. This is a international version of Dexter.
It's a dark comedy movie. You hit the nail on the head with like the comedy portion. Like, this is categorized as a dark comedy thriller movie, and it's exactly what it is.
Like it again, like I think the most perfect scene, especially when it comes to tension and comedy and like encapsulating what this movie is, it's the scene when he walks into the house and you got the guy who his competitor's sitting there in a chair, he he's talking with him, whatever, this and that. They're whatever, reveals that he has the gun, and they're having this whole dialogue exchange under a loud song. The wife comes in, and it creates this whole scene where he shoots him. He's not dead. They all fight over the gun. It's so well done, and you can't not be glued into the screen because of everything that's happening. And again, the comedy comes with them fighting over the gun because they don't know what they're doing. He doesn't know how to be a good killer. They don't know how to escape a killer. It's all really funny trying to watch this all happen. And it obviously ends with Mansu getting away with everything.
Well, yeah, and the wife killing her like that was one of those, like, there were quite a few like shocking moments. Like, I think the first shocking moment for me was realizing what this movie was, admittedly, because I'm sitting there and again, it's taking me a minute to get into this movie because I know nothing about it. And I have watched the trailer
Right.
since then, and I watched it and I was like, man, this sets up everything. Like, this is exactly what this movie is. I didn't watch the trailer, so I had no idea what this was going into.
Right.
And so when I realized that I'm sitting there and I'm like, wait a second, is he gonna wait, why did he just replace the gun? Wait a second. I thought we were just following a dude who was down on his
He
oh.
he
Oh,
gonna
he
kill
just
these people.
oh, he's oh, maybe he's not gonna kill those people. Like, maybe we're just gonna, like, maybe he's down on his luck and then he's gonna try. Oh, he just shot. Oh.
Oh, there.
Oh.
He did. It's
Wait
also
a second.
it's like, oh no, he's not gonna make that. No, he's making the choice. Okay, no,
And
that's a choice.
And
He's
then he
killing them.
panics after killing the first person and starts to reevaluate everything. And I was like, okay, maybe he killed the one person. He's like, oh, he just killed a second. Oh,
Yeah, and I
oh,
want to.
oh, he's befriended the guy now. Like, we get to the last kill, and I'm like, oh, he's befriended the guy now, and he's realized that none of this was necessary to begin with, and all of this great stuff. Oh, he just buried him in a hole. Oh,
Buried in the
like,
hole butt naked. I mean, No, that was actually the one that, like, hit the worst, was that last one that he kills in the street. You know, they bond over talking about their daughters, and
Yeah.
it's a dark, depressing thing to, see that he's come to that. It's also, like, it's interesting because you see how far he's come, like, how far he's willing to go, and you think every single time he's like, "He's gonna stop." Nope, he just keeps
Nope.
going. But that last one hits hard because they have that whole scene prior where they bond in the shop over the shoes and whatever, and you're like, "Hey, I know I close at this time. Come on back at this time. We'll get some things taken care of. We'll take care of the shoes, whatever. I don't know. Or we'll meet here and we'll do this and whatever."
Yeah.
Like, it's
You
just
think he's
such a
gonna stop.
it's a
Because you
depressing
think he's gonna
thing. And it's,
stop. You do. You think he's gonna reevaluate everything, and then you see him pulled over on the side of the road, and you're like, "Wait a second, what are you doing there, buddy? I thought you saw that he had a kid, and you weren't gonna kill him because you bonded over having a kid. Oh, you just pulled out a gun. Oh, maybe he's not gonna kill him. Maybe he's regret. Oh, he just shot the dude." And you're like,
yeah.
"What the hell?"
Well, and the way they all try to balance it out too, especially with the first guy in the first kill, is they try to pull the similarity card. And granted, the whole movie, like, again, it's his competitors. They're all similar to him. They're all fighting over the same job. But the way they compare it is, Mansu earlier in the movie is talking to his wife. He's about, like, what if you did something other than paper? No, paper's my life. Paper's my bread and butter. This is how I did this. This is what I want to do. And then later on in a similar scene, you have the husband and the wife, the other husband and the wife arguing.
Yep.
It's like, why don't you leave it? Oh, well, paper's my business. This is what I do. Meaning that obviously Mansu was the one who chose to kill, but they're all not different. Like, they all have the same beliefs and the same motives. And that's what also makes it so interesting, is that it could have been any of them
Because
if they.
I think that is probably one of the most genius parts about the movie that I somewhat saw when watching it, but it is, again, I've had to think about this movie a lot after watching it. Both of his competitors represent a different part of him. The first
Yeah.
competitor that he kills represents the version of him that's not willing to change. He represents the
Yes.
version of him that is only in the paper industry. He is only ever, paper is his life, paper is all he wants to do, and that is the only thing he's going to do.
Correct.
And then the other version, his other competitor, represents the family man version of him. He has a daughter who he loves, who has friends, and he kills him too. And it is like that other guy is willing to leave the paper industry. He's running a shoe store. Like, there's the whole thing where it's like, yeah, he doesn't want to leave the paper, but he does, and he gets another job, and he does the thing that everyone else's wives have been telling them to do to support his family and find another career to sell shoes and live a modest life.
Right.
But he has the family, just like our main character does. And I think that that's one thing that's, like, obviously done very purposeful, but it is kind of like a wow, like, he sees these people living his life,
Right.
options of his life, and he still chooses to go down because he refuses to be those. He sees an option where he can be depressed and become an alcoholic again, because that's the other thing. He used to be an alcoholic, and this
Right.
guy is a alcoholic who doesn't want to leave the paper industry, and he can go down this path. He can be an alcoholic. He can have a wife who cheats on him and hates him, because that's another thing. His wife might cheat on him. She doesn't, but she might cheat on him. So this is the bad option. This is the everything goes wrong. You're a drunk. Your wife cheats on you option, and he kills that guy. Technically, he doesn't kill him. His wife does, but still, he responsible for his death. And then go to the other option. Go to option two, the guy who does leave the paper industry, the guy who
Right.
does find another job to support his family, who has a daughter who he loves and a wife that he loves. And he's not the happiest he's ever been, but he's getting by and he's doing what he can. And he
Right.
kills him too. And he refuses to go down either path because he only wants to go down his path, the optimal
Right.
path. Because then at the final step, he is confronted with the guy. The final guy he kills is the guy living his ideal life, the
Yeah.
life he wants to live. He's already seen the worst option. He's already seen the mediocre option. Now he's confronted with the guy who has his job. And the only thing the guy that has his job does is bitch about how much he hates his job.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter to him. He doesn't care. He's presented with all these terrible things about the job, and he still kills him anyway, and he still gets the job, and he's probably going to end up miserable.
It's the parallel. It's like the Christmas Carol ghost present,
Yeah, it is
past,
very similar
future.
concept. Yeah.
It's a similar concept, but it's done in a linear story that isn't through ghosts, it's through normal life. And that's what's so clever about this film. Oh my god. Is this film better than Parasite? It's not. Parasite's still better. I don't know. I need to think about it more. I really like
So I
Parasite.
guess I went on a long-winded thing there. Sorry, just because I was like thinking
No,
about it.
you're touching on things that I was going to touch on anyway, so that works.
But I wanna switch the question back on you and give you an opportunity to talk here.
Yeah.
One, would this have made your top 10 last year?
Yes.
If it would have?
Yes.
You don't have to tell me what the number is if you don't want to, but
I
okay.
I I don't know what the number would be, but I know it would have broken
Okay.
my top 10. I don't know how high up it would have gotten. I think it would have. What was my top 10 again? I need to look at my list.
Because for me, like, I enjoy this movie, and the more I talk about it, the more I appreciate and enjoy this movie. I still do think, though, that for me, and I talked about this when we made our top tens, for me, a movie has to do something for me. And granted, this movie it's made me think more than most movies last year, but I still can't get past how, like, I don't want to say I almost walked out of this movie, but like I still can't get over how, like, dragged the movie feels when watching it, and I do wish that that experience maybe was a little better. Again, maybe this is a me thing, but
I think
I
it's just
just
a you
have to
thing
be
because
honest.
it's meant to be a slow burn. That's what it's supposed to be. Here's where I would have put it theoretically. First off, my list has changed since I said it. F1 changed and swapped out with Smashing Machine. So Smashing Machine was my 10. F1 became my 9. Um, it would have knocked off Smashing Machine. It would have gone past F1 and the Naked Gun to fall into my number 8 spot. It would have been
Okay,
Zootopia, No Other Choice, Naked Gun.
and
Is
then
where
yeah,
F1.
okay. Yeah. Okay.
That's
Yeah, no,
where it would have gone.
yeah, but I guess again, like the movie is a thinker, and you've seen other movies like this before. So like did that I
It
guess like
helped.
cuz you
I think it
talked about
helps.
how like your watching experience was like relatively similar to mine.
It was similar, but also like first off, I'm also more accustomed to it too. I've seen a lot of slow burn movies. Again, one of my favorite movies of all time being Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is the biggest slow burn movie I think I've
It's
ever
like
seen in
what
my entire
three and a
life.
half hours nearly like
It's 3.5 hours of setup with 15 minutes of payoff.
yeah.
That is the point of that movie, but it's so darn good. But that's the whole point of it. No Other Choice is the same way, but it's just obviously it's a foreign film, so it's a little different. At least it's foreign film for us. Um, so it hits different, but I was more accustomed to it, and I've also been walking out of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood for the first time. My dad was the same way. He didn't like that movie at all. And then the more he's rewatched it, it's become one of his favorite movies of all time. Like he really enjoys that film. So I'm the same way with No Other Choice, where it's like walking out of it, I was like, it was okay. And the more I think about it, the more I'm like, no, I really enjoy that because I had to actually think about it. Again, there's also going to be films that we watch, especially on the podcast, that you're going to start off going, I didn't like that, but over time you're going to appreciate it more. I'm not
Yeah,
talking
for
about Tron.
sure.
I'm not talking about Tron Ares. That film's hot garbage. But I'm talking
Best
about
movie of
other.
2025, baby.
I. But I am talking about certain films that you're like, needing to genuinely sit there and think about because it truly is it's constant symbolism. And again, I think the harder part with it being a foreign film, especially for me, is I am reading subtitles. I'm trying to make sure I don't miss a single line of dialogue because everything is intentional that they're saying or everything is important.
Yeah. Well, and that was for me so easy just because of the amount of anime that I watch, where it's like
Right.
subtitles didn't bother me at all. I like 99% of things I watch nowadays have subtitles on it.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
yeah, that wasn't a learning curve for me. But I want to hear you talk about this because I already talked about some other things. Do you think that our enjoyment of the movie or our understanding of the movie was slightly hindered on the cultural differences in this movie? Because there's a
No.
lot of things in this movie that feel very meaningful because of the culture of Korea that we are not as familiar with.
No. I mean, yeah, there's things I probably didn't understand, but I mean, they didn't drag it. I was like, oh, that's part of their culture. Okay, cool. I mean, really, like, there wasn't anything that derailed my experience in that regard. It really did come back to, for me, it was, do I like this or not because of how long it felt watching it. not realizing it was a slow burn. Again, I think that the other thing that we didn't know going into it was the fact that it was a slow burn. We knew nothing about this film. I'm sure if we looked it up, hey, is this movie quick? Is it? No, it says it's a slow burn. I'm sure that it does somewhere if you looked it up. If we listened to IGN or somebody that's already reviewed the film, they probably would have said that in addition too. We didn't know any of that. I think that's actually what the hindrance was, is we didn't know anything.
So
it's also a
I
big
guess
plus, but it's
I was
also a
gonna
hindrance at the
say,
same time.
another question for you building off of that. If you can go back in time,
No,
and I'm not saying know everything about it, but at least watch
no.
the trailer, you still wouldn't?
No, because I walked out really enjoying this film, having it break my top 10, regardless of the in the moment experience for me was not as much as not as enriching as the after experience of it, getting to sit down and actually think about it and dive into it, making me wanting to go back and rewatch it. So I would have done it the exact same way. I wouldn't have wanted to know anything about this film so I can experience that all over again. Because yeah, like I said, it's a hindrance. It's not really a hindrance, but like you go into Alien again. I've talked about this trailer multiple times before. A black space, completely empty, no sound. The title comes on, and no in space, no one can hear you scream. Whatever. That's the trailer. You don't see the alien. You don't see the actors. You don't see any of it. It's just Alien. That's it. That's all you get. But that's enough to get you in the movie because you know it's about an alien and you know it's in space. That's all you need. No other choice. I guess I could have gotten a brief synopsis from whatever the
Like a
film's about.
themes or something like that,
I'm
yeah.
sure maybe that I could have taken that, but like you should still be able to walk into a film not really knowing anything, and like I don't know. You go to me. No, I don't think it ruined the movie for me. No, I don't think I wanted to change it. I would have done it the same way, regardless. Um, but again, not saying that you're not going to watch more slow burns, not that you're going to get more accustomed to it. I am just more accustomed to it. So when it was thrown
Yeah.
at me, I wasn't overly surprised, especially because Parasite also kind of was the same way, and Snowpiercer to a certain extent too. They were both the same way, at least a little bit. This one's definitely more of a slow burn than the other two, but it's kind of the same way. So no, I wouldn't say that it was like, you get what I mean.
Yeah, no, I get it. So I guess because yeah, the one of the I know I asked you a question and then I moved on, but like the thing with the cultural thing, the reason why I asked that question is because like there are definitely things, and I think one of the core themes of this movie is you can obviously pick up on it. It's not like a huge hindrance, but like the dedication to a specific job, specifically like paper, does feel very cultural. Like you don't really see that. You saw that maybe decades ago in America, like people were more dedicated, but like especially our generation, like that's not a thing at all. Like
Right,
people don't
right,
get they have their things they want to do and they really want to do them, but it's like, oh, I really want to be a content creator. Like that would be like the thing. But like
right.
it's not to the degree that I feel like it is in this movie. And then obviously you have some smaller things, obviously, like with the whole like unemployment, like meditation thing that they did. That was definitely
Right,
like okay,
right,
we don't have this at like there's no thing in America where you go and you're like, look, I'm good, I'm a good person, I'm a good person. But maybe there
right.
is, and I just don't do it because I'm better than you. But I
Better
think
than you.
but I don't know. That's kind of why I built off of that. But do you have any so we already talked about the probably not probably the greatest scene in this movie, which
Yeah.
my opinion was the juke I'll call it the musical murder scene. That scene, like, even when I'm watching it, like, I didn't need to think about that scene all that much, like, I really enjoyed that scene while I watched it. Do you have any other, like, standout scenes for you?
Like I mentioned, the scene when he's I mean, I know it's not one scene, but the whole section with the guy and comparing to his daughter and the life that he could have if he just switched careers, and then immediately killing him in the street, cold blooded. After sharing what is a really nice moment, even though you know he's going to do it. That's a really good scene. Any scene that the wife is in with Mansu is so good. I'm trying to think of like specific scenes that I'm like, okay,
Well,
like
so I
that's the
have
standout.
one that it has
Okay.
both of them that we can talk about together, is when and I'm not talking about when they're at the dance, but the scene
Oh, yeah,
after
yeah,
the
yeah.
where they're confronting each other, where she's accusing him of being drunk again, and he's accusing her of cheating. I think one of the things that I really enjoyed about that scene was they don't tell the audience whether or not they're correct or not. Like, the wife
Right.
isn't like, "No, I didn't cheat," and the husband isn't like, "Oh, she didn't cheat on me after smelling the underwear," and she doesn't tell the audience like, "Oh, he isn't drunk afterwards." They don't tell us that. Like, they
You
keep
don't
it
know.
to themselves,
Right.
and you can make a general, educated guess based off of their reaction, but I think
Right.
that's what's so good about it, is in so many movies run into the problem nowadays where they have to feel like they spell it out to you. I think it was Matt Damon did an interview recently where he talked about Netflix has this thing where you have to restate the plot of the movie like every 30 minutes because people are scrolling on their phones when watching things and they're going to forget it and they're not going to pay attention. Like if you were scrolling on your phone during this movie, you would not know what happened, not just because of the subtitles, but because of
Right.
scenes like that where they don't
Right.
feel the need to tell us. They
Right.
tell us through the performance. There's no line where it's like, good thing my wife didn't cheat on me. You just have to infer based off of his reaction whether or not she cheated on him or not.
Right. And that's what makes a good movie. That again, that's what makes The Godfather so good. You know, this isn't the same comparison, but the final scene of The Godfather is
I haven't
Michael
seen it, so
and
don't spoil it for me.
okay, I gotta
I've
think of
never
a
seen The
different scene.
Godfather. I know I've committed the biggest crime in movie history by not watching the best movie ever made, The Godfather and The Godfather 2, but
Oh God. Okay,
it's
so we got
insert that scene of, Peter Griffin. "Guys, I have a confession for you. I did not care for The Godfather." But it's just, "Guys, I have a confession for you. I've never seen The Godfather."
special episode next week. We're watching both Godfather movies. Congratulations. Um, I don't know. I don't got another scene then, but yes, it's the classic. It's it's showing us instead of telling us, and
Mhm.
that's always one I'm a bigger fan of because it gives you a chance to actually take in the performances, but also just believe it and agree with it. I can't think of any specific like examples because The Godfather was my example, and now I don't got it.
Well, like, pulling another example from this movie that you can maybe use to talk on was, like, their final phone call. When they're
Yes,
talking
yes,
on the phone together and you don't know what she's gonna do or say and what's gonna happen. Is she gonna cover for him? Is she not gonna cover for him? How she's gonna explain it to her son? And, like, you can
right,
tell all the decisions that she's having to make in the moment. And again, that's another, like, you see it in her face, not in the words that she's saying as much.
right, yeah. Um, and that scene in particular is really good. Again, any scene the wife is in is really good because it's acted so well. The thing that I love about this film is that this does feel like a real family. I believe that
Mhm.
they're a real family, each and every single one of them. Um, one of the things I will say, I didn't dislike it. I really enjoyed what they did with it. But one thing I would have wished they would have touched on more, funny enough, because we felt like this movie dragged and was a slow burn. I wish we could have gotten more of the father and his son and the not the payoff for it, but the build to it a little bit.
Yeah, I
I
actually really agree with you on that.
I don't hate it. Like what they gave us is fine. It got the point across. But when that scene happened, it was like, oh, I wish we would have gotten a little more with that because they were so focused on this instead of this. And I get that that was kind of the point of showing, like, hey, the husband slash father, Mansu was so busy wrapped into his own thing that he wasn't paying attention to what was actually going on with his son. I get that's kind of the idea of it.
Well,
But
and
I do wish we could have gotten at least a few more seeds planted to point towards it.
I think one of the reasons why I feel like that, and maybe you'll agree with me, as to like why I felt like let down isn't the right word, but like I do feel like they could have done more with the son, is because they did exactly what we're talking about with the daughter, with the setup of her
Yes.
playing the cello, and you didn't get a ton of individual scenes, but it felt like the daughter was a lot more of a character and a lot more present, sprinkled
Uh,
throughout the movie more evenly
yeah.
than the son
The
was. Like,
daughter
he
also
was
early
set up, but
on.
it felt like one more scene before the phone robbery, I think would have done a lot for the payoff of the phone
Yes.
robbery.
Well, and the daughter was also early on in the film fleshed out a lot more than the son was.
Mhm.
At least that's how I saw it. He was a lot more fleshed out, or she was a lot more fleshed out than he was. Uh, so when you get to the big payoffs for both the characters, the daughter's feels paid off really well. It was set up. The son's was paid off, but it just didn't feel as if we build as much as we could have to it in a film that was already slow burn. I think that's why it hits hard. Like if this was like a quick film and we just going beep 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 beep, we're going quickly, we're going through the whole thing. That's one thing. Because it's a slow burn and we're taking so much time anyway, why wouldn't you just take the time to do this? Especially when it doesn't
Yeah.
feel unnecessary. That's my only real complaint with this film is that I wish we had a bit more of that. But again, you get to the ending of this film and you look back through the entire film, everything that he's done up until this point. I know we already touched on this, but the big finale with him being in this dark room filled with technology, filled with the AI, and he's the only one there. And you look at where he starts, his transformation, his journey with the ghosts of Christmas present, past, future, and to where he ends up, especially the way he ends up with his family. Like, okay, he's giving his family the life that they wanted. His daughter continues to get the cello lessons that she needs, or violin. I don't know what she played again.
Cello, yeah.
Cello. The son, I guess, gets out of the hole that he was in and becomes a good kid
And
again.
is still friends with the dude, which again, I think that's another thing. Like the son was definitely like one more scene before the phone robbery and one more scene somewhere towards the end of the movie. Cause like obviously he's there with the whole like discovering that the dad killed someone and that whole thing.
Yeah,
But like his personal arc felt like the daughter felt like a character that had her own thing going on. The son was more
sure.
entwined throughout everything, and it didn't feel as much of like his moments, other than like we did have some scenes like towards the beginning. I don't want to say we didn't have scenes before the phone robbery, but you have the thing with him on his iPad and he's clearly addicted to Netflix and the phone and things like that. But like
Right.
maybe one more thing to make him stand out a little bit more. But
Yeah. Um, but I think again, it's so hard to talk about this film because I here's what I want to say, and this kind of wraps it up for me at the same time. We can continue to talk and ask questions, but like go watch this movie if you haven't. Not because it is good, just because us saying this right now, I don't even feel like us saying it does justice for what we actually saw on the screen because it truly is not only a spectacle, but it's written expertly, it's performed brilliantly. Again, Oscar nominations are very clear and evident towards that fact. But it's just such a deep and enriching film that I was not expecting to get. Again, knowing nothing about this film going into it, it was kind of everything I wanted from a movie experience as far as like a drama goes, I guess. A comedy. I don't know what you want to really label this film. A drama, a comedy, a foreign film. This is everything you want from a film, I would say. And I think that's what makes it so special in a lot of ways.
so it's funny that you say that because one thing that I was thinking about is like obviously we talked about like I other than animated properties, which I've seen plenty of, I haven't seen very many foreign films in general. And that's one thing that I thought about when I was watching this movie. I'm not talking cultural differences or anything like that. I'm talking about like the construction of this movie feels very different than an American made movie. It feels down to the core of the cinematography, to the acting choices. Some of the story choices feel that way, but again, that gets into some of the cultural differences mainly with the story. But like in a movie core, like everything, like soundtrack wise, even feels like a foreign movie. And I
Right.
think that, like, again, maybe I'd have a different like experience with it if I'd seen more foreign films, but they definitely was something I like took note of where I was like, this just like an American movie would have done this choice and this choice and this choice. Like, I wasn't thinking about this during the movie, I was thinking about this after the movie. Like, they would have
Right.
done this camera angle different, or they would have done this, but like, this movie wasn't afraid to be different. And
Right.
again, maybe that different is just because it's Korean, but like I appreciate looking back at the movie and going like there were a lot of specific again, I'm talking a lot about the cinematography, but even in, like, the audio choices with, like, soundtrack for the movie and
Right.
not feeling the need to have a huge score at every single moment, and I think that's another reason why this movie feels like it drags is because American-made movies have something playing all the time. Even in,
Right.
like Marty Supreme. Like, Marty Supreme has music playing, like, constantly in the background to entice you and keep you going and keep you stressed, like, this has music in it, but a lot of it, it's just the sounds of existence.
Right. Yeah.
And that feels again, I can't call it unique, but it feels different than what I'm used to in a movie experience. And I think that
Sure.
subtracted from the experience while watching the movie and added to the experience after watching the movie.
Yes, I agree. And I think the whole process itself of us watching it and taking it, not knowing what to make of it, and then realizing how brilliant it is just like another good part of like, oh, this is what I want from a film. I want to be able to not know how to feel about it, to actually take the time to think about it and then come back to it and realize how much it really is. Cause then it makes you want to rewatch it as well. And it makes you want to experience it all over again to make sure what you're feeling is what you're really feeling.
Yeah.
Um, there are a lot of films that do that. But honestly, of all the films, even Sinners, which is still my favorite movie of 2025, mind you, of all the films, this is the one that I've actually sat there and went, I don't know how I feel about this, but I really, really enjoy it. Every other film on the list, I've sat there and gone, I really enjoy that. Like, I know that's great. I know how I feel about that. This one, I genuinely had to sit there and think about it, and that's honestly what I really want from a film, and that's what I really
Yeah.
appreciate about it.
I think the closest for me was Begonia. Like, I enjoyed Begonia when watching it more
Begonia's
than I
another.
enjoyed watching this movie in the moment, but that's another one of those movies that it didn't make my top 10, but it came really damn close, and that's because it is a movie that I thought about a lot afterwards. It was another movie that I walked out of, and I think, one of the differences is, like, I put my thoughts together a lot faster on Begonia than I did with this movie in terms of, like, whether I liked it or not. But, like, Begonia was one of those movies that I walked away from, and I was like, I don't know if I enjoyed how that movie came together. Like, I enjoyed a lot of the movie, but I
Sure.
don't know how it came together. This is a movie that I didn't even know if I enjoyed the movie as a whole, let alone how
Right.
it came together until after the fact. So, this is definitely an interesting experience, but we can go ahead and wrap it up here unless you have anything else you wanna say.
Wrapping it up with 800 upload speed. Thank you so much. Uh,
Do you know
Ladies
what
and
we're doing
gentlemen,
next week? Do you know
what
what we're
are we
doing next
doing?
week?
Actually, I don't actually know. What are we doing next week?
I'm very excited for next week. We have Send Help
Yes,
next
send
week,
help. That's the one we're
which,
doing. Yes,
if you
yes.
haven't seen, is getting huge reviews, like
Yeah,
super, super good reviews right now.
yeah,
Wish
yeah.
I didn't know that going in because now I have high expectations, but at the same time, very happy because the trailer wasn't doing a lot for me.
No, I didn't do a lot for
So,
me either, and it was Sam Raimi, so
yeah,
I
so
was
Sam
very
Raimi's
concerned.
next movie, Send Help. And another thing that you specifically weren't very excited for and has been reviewing extraordinarily well is Wonder Man.
Oh, yes, yes.
Wonder Man is this week as well. It actually dropped today, Tuesday, as of recording this, because we're recording this late, because of Carson's wedding, because he got unmarried.
Wait, what? What?
But yeah, Wonder Man dropped as of today, all 8 episodes. So we'll be talking about that with Send Help, reviewing very, very well. Like, some people are saying best Marvel TV show. Very excited for both of the stuff we're talking about next week.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is next week's podcast.
Excellent. Well, that's next week. We're still at this week. And that being said, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for listening, watching. If you like what you heard, if you like what you saw, give us a like, give us a follow, click that little bell notification. You can always find out when we update. we do our best to upload every single Sunday. Sometimes that doesn't work out, as you can tell for today's episode. But that being said, you can find us on all streaming platforms under @NerdyNimrods. I mean every single streaming platform: YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Podcasts galore. You can find us. We're everywhere, I promise. You can also find us on all social media sites: Instagram, TikTok, I almost said Snapchat, but we are not on Snapchat because that doesn't work. Facebook, we're on every social media platform possible under @NerdyNimrods as well. You can find us, follow us, always keep updated on what's going on and what we're doing. But that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening, and as always, stay nerdy.